baseline. They were down 3, and he was going to take it to the rack, which was great. And his feet went right out from under him. And it looked a little bit like an aging player to me. It wasn't a wet spot. Nobody talked about, even LeBron didn't make a wet spot excuse after the game. He just reached for a gear that wasn't there. And it was a little scary to me. Like the airball free throw is a little scary. And Brian Windhorst makes the point that a lot of players at an advanced age came to play with LeBron, especially going back to the early Cleveland days, one being Shaquille O'Neal at age 37. And Shaq had an awful year. And Windhorst said, I kept going to him after games. What's wrong? He said, I don't know. I just can't get the ball up to the basket anymore. And Brian's point was, sometimes you just hit a wall where you lose a half an inch on your jump or a step on your quickness. And you know how that is. You just lose it. It just happens because we're all mortal, and Father Time taps you on the shoulder, and that's the beginning of the end. So did we see that here, or can we go back to the LA syndrome? You and I have seen so many people come to this town, and it just devours them because it's so great here. It's just... It's the weather, it's the women, it's the houses, it's the beach, it's Malibu, it's Brentwood, it's Hollywood, it's Beverly Hills, it's all that. And I made jokes earlier about he's chasing Michael B. Jordan, which he's got a lot of irons in the fire off the floor. So did that start to take away a little bit of his focus and even his interest level in actually playing the highest level of basketball? Maybe. I hope not. I hope maybe this offseason, this is a shell shock now. This is like you said, maybe this is what he needed to sit back. I mean, you're still committed to Space Jam, but maybe you need to decommit to some other things, right? Maybe you better get back to playing basketball. If you want this big bounce back monster year, I think you better make basketball your only priority.
But see, Skip, you mentioned that, okay, it looked like he reached for a gear, but he wouldn't have been able to get around him. Is that he went so hard that his legs just went out from under him. He has that gear. I give you a prime and give you another example of 2 guys. Remember Peyton Manning? He played 14, 15 straight years, never missed a game. Missed an entire season, never missed another game. Tom Brady played every single game. Tore his ACL, hasn't missed a game since.
Okay, so?
I believe this is a very similar situation. Those were outlier seasons. I believe this is an outlier season. LeBron James got nicked. We hadn't seen anything like this because, Skip, what we're doing is that we're taking, well, we've never seen him hurt. We've never seen, yeah, he took 2 weeks off from his back, but nobody thought that, oh, man, LeBron. But I'm looking at it. No one raised these questions about LeBron because he's still 34 now. No one raised these questions.
But you always make the case he's an old 34 because the mileage is severe. Because he's played when you get to 8 straight finals, you just keep playing more and more and more minutes than anybody's played.
But it's still purring like a kid. He's still going right on the lawn. Yes, he is. All them miles, and guess what? Can't get him off the road. Still on the road, still ticking along. Yep.
So Windhorst says that James's leadership this season hasn't been his finest. I would agree with that. Whether it's his behavior on the bench or his effort level on defense, we've all seen that. We all agree with that. But then he says, should you give him a break because he hasn't had those safety valve shooters around him the way he did in Cleveland or even back to his Miami days, right?
I love how LeBron gets safety valves. Nobody else has that. Nobody else is allowed to have teammates. Everybody's had teammates. But
you always say he needs snipers, right? That's what he does.
Skip, you and I in the beginning, when we saw this team start to come together, you and I questioned like, LeBron, hold on, wait a minute. Playmakers, you need shooters. You've always had shooters.
You know why I gave him a break on that? Because he was so great last year up to the finals, but his playoff run through the East was all time, man.
But he had Kevin Love was shooting threes. JR was shooting threes. Kyle Korver was shooting threes.
They went and got Jordan Clarkson to make some. We thought Rodney Hood could make some, but he didn't.
Even Green. Jeff Green was all of a sudden started his 3-point percentage started to tick up.
All right.
We look at these guys, they don't have guys that can shoot the 3 consistently.
Do you remember LeBron's first championship run? Do you remember Shane Battier one night in Oklahoma City, what he did? Do you remember what
Mike Miller.
Do you know what Mike Miller did? Do you remember what Mario Chalmers did? Okay, they all had, those 3 each had a game for the ages for them. Like a career game.
And then the next year they get Ray Allen.
Okay. All right. So you need those. So all Brian is saying is maybe you don't have those. But I gave LeBron a pass. I thought, well, he was so good at 33 that maybe at 34 he doesn't need that anymore. Maybe and then again, Brian goes into the up-tempo style the Lakers are playing earlier this year. There was a big departure from his comfort zone. Right. He's never done that before.
He
wants to walk the ball up the floor and make something happen, either by him driving the basketball or making the pass.
Because the thing that he was going up against in Golden State, Skip, is that you can't play that tempo. You can't get up and down because that style of pace isn't conducive because of the type of team that he has. Well, Magic went out and got a team that wants to push the pace, which he wasn't used to pushing the pace. And if you push the pace, Skip, you can't play 38 minutes a night, which they were asking him to do.
That's a very good point. And I used to come in early this year and just rave and bang the table. That's fun to watch. They were the most fun to watch team. That's for the first 2 months, maybe. And then the pace started to wane a little bit because you can't keep asking him to do that.
No, not at 34, Skip. With the minutes that's on his body, that's on those legs, you're going to ask him to play that style of pace and play 38 minutes, 40 minutes on some nights. That's asking a bit too much, even for LeBron James, as great as he's been, as well as he's taking care of his body. But I just believe...
And remember, Kuzma loved it.
Yes.
Lonzo loved it.
Yeah.
Josh Hart loved it because they were their kids.
They're 23, 24.
But it was a lot of fun, man.
Yes.
Right? Even JaVale loved it, and he's a mid-aged player, but he could run up and down the floor.
Yeah, but he ain't got 10,000 minutes on those legs.
He doesn't.
But I just believe if we were to step back and just say, okay, LeBron is averaging 27, 8, and 8, and he's the fourth or fifth seed in the playoffs. Are we having this discussion whether or not this is an outlier season in terms of his health? I don't believe we are. I believe everything is centered around him missing the playoff. Skip, we've never missed the playoff. LeBron, LeBron James is worth 50 wins. They won 35 last year. He gonna give at least 15 more because that's what happened. Miami, they increased 13, 15 games. He goes back to Cleveland, they increase. Now they come back here, they're basically the same as they were before he got there. So this is why, granted, he doesn't have the impact, but if you get him some shooters and all of a sudden let him give old Kyle Korver back to him. I'll take old Korver right now.
I don't think Utah wants to give him up.
Why not?
I don't know. They need him.
They do.
Okay, let's look at PER, player efficiency rating for one LeBron James. He went 6 straight seasons in the heart of his prime of his career, and he led the NBA in PER.
Right.
That most people don't know what the number means, but it was 30.3 on average. If you could get up in the 30s in PER, you are all time. Okay? So he averaged 30.3 for 6 straight seasons. This year he's at 25.8, and he's in danger of falling toward his worst ever PER. Right now he's got the 13th. It's the 13th best or worse, however you want to look at it.
Out of 400 players?
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, he's terrible, huh?
No, that's of his seasons. The 13th worst. But he's 8th in the NBA in PER.
Okay.
But again, it's a big precipitous drop. It's not what we're used to seeing in impact. His defensive win shares, 2.5, that's his career worst. Well, we know he doesn't really focus on the defensive end. His overall win shares are the second lowest of his career. So we're not seeing the impact we used to see where he would just dominate the basketball game. I told you, the greatest stretch ever was the first Golden State Finals series in which he lost Kevin Love before it. He lost Kyrie in overtime of game 1. And then what did he do? He just took it over. He had them on the ropes. 2 games to 1 down with game 4 in his house, right? Am I right about that?
You're right about that.
It was the greatest stretch of his career. He just put the whole team, he put cadavers on his back and took them to a 2-1 lead. And they could have closed it out.
But you know what, Skip? Maybe he's going to have to change. If he can't get shooters, maybe he's going to have to change his approach. Instead of averaging 8, 9 assists a game, he might have to drop that down to 5 to 6 a game and increase his point total. Instead of scoring 27, he might need to bump that up to 30, 31. Because he's asking, because the thing is, LeBron James has always been unselfish, and we say sometimes to a fault.
It is.
He believes that, you know what, I can shoot this, but here's a guy that has an even better shot than me. Let me give him the ball. They miss. So I just believe the last time he didn't make the playoffs, all I'm gonna say, I'm gonna leave it with this. The last time LeBron James missed the playoffs, he came back 31, 7-7.
Okay, but the last time he missed the playoffs, It was a long time ago. Am I right about that?
Yeah.
It was how many seasons ago? Like
It was
14?
It was a year. He made the playoffs year 3. He missed it the first 2 years.
Okay.
Yeah, so year 3, he averaged 30. Okay.
So it's 14 years ago.
And on them
It's
matter.
a lot of miles ago. I get it.
We were
I
doing
get
a
it.
lot of different things 14 years ago.
And it's like a weird anomaly that when he went to Miami the first year, not great. Back to Cleveland first year, not great. But now he's not great in LA, but he's into year 17 next year.
But
so can he have a big bounce back in year 17?
I mean, think about this, Skip. I want you to let this sink in. He didn't have a not great season, and he almost won the MVP his first year in Miami. He didn't have a not great season his first year back in Cleveland, and he almost won the MVP again.
Okay, but you're starting to look at ancient history. How about right now? Is he capable of having a bounce back MVP next year?
I mean,
Are you willing to predict he's going to win MVP next year? Could he?
Yeah.
Okay. I hope you're right. I sincerely hope you're right about that.
Well, I'm going to get a little bit more in depth with LeBron. 'Cause
History would say no way.
He rewrote history.
Well, you're right.
History say there wasn't a guy going to come along that's going to topple old Air Jordan. That's what history said. History said that.
Is still screaming he hasn't.
No. History ain't doing that. We rewrote history.
7 games left right now for the Lakers, and LeBron has a lot of time to figure out what's next. And he definitely hears this discussion.
Yeah.
This is
He'll
motivating,
watch it right now.
I'm sure.
Well, if you hear it, can you do anything about it?
You have a lot of time to heal up
I don't
and
know.
take that time.
There's some history. LeBron James had that big old eraser.
Okay.
He's
Then
erasing
wrote it.
some of
And
that?
then wrote in LeBron James on top of it.
Did they?
Yeah, he corrected it.
Oh, he corrected.
Yeah, in history books.
All right, well, here's the thing. AB and Juju are
Oh, my goodness.
still feuding on social media. The story continues, so we will discuss that next. But don't forget, you can check us out every day on the Fox Sports channel on Sirius XM. We will be right back.